Through the years, it is safe to say Subaru has had to go up against his fair share of antagonists, and it could almost be argued to a degree that almost if not every single character within ReZero has been antagonistical to Subaru at some point throughout the series. But regardless of that, it is easy and safe to say that ReZero provides some of the most memorable antagonists within all of anime and light novels, and that's exactly what today is going to be about, quantifying and actually ranking those antagonists and putting them on a tier list. If you enjoy this type of content and enjoy ReZero in general, make sure to, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. But anyways, let's just go ahead and get right into the video. So yeah, I'm going to go through the arcs of ReZero and essentially put these antagonists into different tiers based on how good I think they are. I'm also going to concentrate it to antagonists that have, really only gone up against Subaru. So I'm going to stray away from side story antagonists throughout this. I'm sorry to my web novel readers out there, and I'm going to go through arc 1 through 9, ranking all of these antagonists. Also, I'm going to try to keep it to, the main antagonists, the main ones who go up against Subaru and directly impact the story. So like, for example, somebody like Kurgan, I'm not going to put on this list because, Garfield fought him as a one-off in arc 5, not Subaru. Also, to do my best to not concentrate all of these antagonists on the S and A tier, try to think of these rankings not in comparison of these antagonists to other series, but in comparison to other ReZero characters and antagonists. And what I mean by this is I think all of these characters are super good. But, because I don't want every single character being on S tier, I'm going to have to, put a couple lower. That doesn't mean I think they're a D tier antagonist or, some bad antagonists. I just think the other ones are better. They're going up against other amazing antagonists. So yeah, keep that in mind. And anyways, let's just go ahead and start. Starting off with arc 1, we're going to go ahead and look at the alley thugs. I mean, some of Subaru's greatest competition, most dangerous people throughout the entire series. The threat and damage that they pose is honestly unmatched compared to any other character within ReZero. That's exactly why they're gonna go ahead right down in like D tier. Nah, but for real though, these guys are cool, they're funny, they're not serious antagonists, they're just who Subaru goes up against within the beginning of the series. They get the point across. Subaru low-key like kind of beats them if we're just being honest, but yeah, they're gonna go down in D or C tier. They're not much writing or character there. Anyways, moving on to the next, we're going to go ahead to Elsa, who I actually think is one of the more underrated antagonists throughout all of ReZero. They did also cut a bit of her story and her backstory, but I think her backstory was extremely interesting, and I think people often forget about what is portrayed about her within season 2 of the anime. With that being said, I'm going to have to put her in a solid A tier. I think Elsa is an extremely underrated antagonist. I think she provides some very interesting fights and moments, and more specifically, I think her fight with Garfield within season 2 and arc 4 is one of the best fights within the entire series and is one that gives me chills every single time I watch it. It genuinely is amazing. I think she's extremely underrated. I think there's interesting character stuff going on with her there. And also not to mention the mental struggle and fortitude she has been placing on Garfield since she passed. With all that being said, like I said, I think Elsa is a solid A tier. Moving on to the next is Meili. Now, if I'm going off of the anime alone and not including later events, I'm going to go ahead and put her in like B tier or C tier. But if I'm including later events without getting into spoilers, I'm going to put Meili in S+ tier. One of the best antagonists within all of ReZero, really is able to provide a unique perspective on many different things and set the plot forth in many different ways, if you get what I'm saying. In a lot of sense, she holds a candle and is connected to our main character more than any of these other antagonists are, and the way she is able to do that and the way the dialogue is navigated regarding her character and what goes forth there is some of the best within all of ReZero. And also her backstory is very interesting and playing into that idea of nature versus nurture and how she was developed with growing up like somebody like Elsa and so on and so forth. I think she's one of the best antagonists within all of ReZero, so I'm going to go ahead and put her right up in that S tier. Moving on to Betelgeuse. I think Betelgeuse portrays some of the best ideas throughout all of ReZero, in which he really is a dark, twisted representation of the weird obsession that Subaru was having with Emilia within arc 3 and everything up until that point. I think as a character, he is also one of, if not probably the most interesting and entertaining antagonist throughout the whole series. I mean, just based off of how he acts alone and actually getting to see his backstory and why he is the way he is and how he got mind corrupted by Pandora in arc 4 is some of the best scenes within that entire arc, to say the least. And I genuinely do think Betelgeuse is underrated, especially as we have progressed on throughout the series. With all that being said though, I still wouldn't put him in S tier. I'm gonna put him in A tier. I think he is a great antagonist, and I think he parallels Subaru in many ways and represents, the point of Arc 3 extremely well and gets his job across. I just like some other antagonists better, and, he's great and all, but just compared to some of these other ones I want to talk about, I think he is not quite there. Moving on to the next antagonist is going to be Roswaal. Easy S tier for me. I think Roswaal is underrated, extremely underrated, and his parallels with Subaru and his contrast about, their perspectives on life, and Roswaal trying to force the idea onto Subaru that they are one in the same, and Subaru being able to defer that and deny that idea and rely on the people around him in Arc 4 and prove that he can get through things not by being ignorant and solely relying on his ability, such as Roswaal does with the Book of the Gospel, is extremely amazing. And this dynamic really sets forth what goes on within Arc 4 and sets up later dynamics with Subaru and other characters. And not to mention, Roswaal also has a hand in most of the events in ReZero up until this point, and I feel as if people forget about, that twist or that reveal that Roswaal literally planned out almost, if not every single thing bad that happened to Subaru within the previous arcs. This was all according to the Book of the Gospel, and I feel as if people forget that idea, because honestly, when I heard that, that was a crazy reveal, and no one really holds it, to Roswaal's character or brings up the twist. But I think Roswaal is genuinely amazing. I think he portrays a lot of great dynamics with Subaru, portrays a lot of themes and, philosophical beliefs behind his ideas. That's why Roswaal is going to go into S tier for me. Next up is Echidna, and honestly, the same thing is going to have to be said here. Almost, if not everything I just said about Roswaal, apply that to Echidna, plus more. And considering the fact that Echidna is also going to probably be the final antagonist of ReZero based on what she has said and based on the author's comments, and honestly, as the story progresses more and more, it's becoming more and more apparent that that is the case. She is easy S tier for me, and not to mention just the way she is able to so easily try to manipulate Subaru and get around things and do certain things to lay the foundation, for stuff that happens later, and, lay these seeds of, inconsequential things that they may seem within the moment that build up and culminate in a chance to try to twist our main character's perspectives on certain things or try to get Subaru to run to her for help is genuinely amazing, and I really do enjoy it as a whole. And Echidna is just so fun to watch. Her dialogue, her speech at the end of Arc 4, it's all genuinely amazing. She's gonna have to also go into S tier. Next up is gonna be Argo. Yes, Argo, me and you. Regulus Cornballius. What is there to say about Regulus? He is a cornball, true to definition, and he went out sad. I think about that a lot, honestly. Regulus went out probably sadder than any other antagonist I have ever seen. You're moving untouched for hundreds of years, and then some guy with like no seemingly ability just calls out your ability that, has been a secret forever and with no explanation at that. And then you genuinely just get packed up by the guy you sent to the moon without him even using his sword at that. Poor Regulus, man. But as a character and his writing, Regulus is very good. Again, he kind of dynamics Subaru in a similar sense that Betelgeuse does, being he is set up as some sort of like twisted, I guess the best word to describe this, incelish, version of Subaru that, we see portrayed at times within the earlier arcs and really just taken to an extreme with Regulus. I'm not saying Subaru's like Regulus, but yeah, Regulus is all of that to the extreme. Yeah, I mean, what is there to say about Regulus? I really love his character. I think he's really funny. His name chapter and his backstory got cut quite a bit in the anime, if I'm being honest, but within the novels, it was super good. With that being said, though, he's not an S tier antagonist for me. He's somewhere in between probably B and A tier. I'm not exactly sure, though. I'll probably, Elsa from earlier, I'm going to move her down to B tier. I think I got a little on my high horse there because she was the first antagonist. I'm going to move her down to B tier, and I'm probably going to put Regulus at the front of B tier or at the bottom of A tier. He's a great antagonist. I just think there's better. Moving on is going to be Pandora. Now, Pandora as an actual character, she's moving off hype moments and aura moments alone, and she's essentially potential woman when it comes to the antagonist, as we haven't actually seen anything with her, even though we are going to be within arc 10 of the series at this point. She's cool and her moments are really cool, but we just don't have enough or know enough, like, in definition in the story outside of fan theories to really justify me putting her in A tier or anything like that based off of what she's got. She's awesome. She's super cool. Everything we've seen is super good. But if I'm just being honest, guys, she can't go above A tier for me. She's going to have to be somewhere in B tier probably. She's a cool antagonist. She's really good. And I'm sure by the end of the series, whenever we get stuff revealed of her, she is, going to be S tier. But As of right now, it's gonna have to be B tier. I'm sorry, Pandora fans. Anyways, moving on to the next. I'm actually gonna knock this out now while I'm at it. Speaking of going off of hype aura moments alone, I'm gonna have to go with same thing here with Capella. Again, another antagonist who is potential woman. She really hasn't done much in the main series at this point still. Even though, again, we are about to be in arc 10. I think she's going to get her arc, like, literally right now in arc 10 very soon. She does have extremely cool moments within arc 5, though, to say the least. And whenever she does, get her time as an antagonist, it's going to be amazing and it's going to be super good. She's clearly probably the smartest Sin Archbishop, and one who I think at the end of the day is probably going to be more dangerous for Subaru than any other Sin Archbishop out there. I mean, just considering her ability alone and her ability to mask and pretend she is someone she's not. She's awesome. I love her character. I love everything we've seen of her. Again, though, she's going to have to go B tier just based off the fact that we haven't really had any character exposition or, things stated about her as a whole, despite, her laying the seeds in the background there, whether that be with Meili or other characters. Moving on to the next is going to be the first of the Gluttony trio, aka Lai, Bat, and Kaitos. Lai is cool. Honestly, as time has gone on, he is probably now the least favorite of the three in the Gluttony trio for me, and is probably the worst, if I'm just being honest, based off of, more recent stuff we've seen. But yeah, he's cool. His character moments are cool. If this antagonist list was going off of which character annoyed me the most, Lai would easily be number one and go ahead there and be an S+ tier. I actually cannot stand this guy's design and how he acts. He is literally insufferable. But I mean, again, he is an antagonist. He is good for that. As a whole, though, I think he's the worst in the Gluttony trio, and I'm going to go ahead and just place him in high B tier. While I'm at it, let's just go ahead and do Roy, who often gets shafted and put into the shadow of, Lai and Rui. But anyways, I think, with recent developments within Arc 9 and recent stuff, Roy is probably the second best now, and his character within all of Arc 9 was extremely good and extremely enjoyable, at least to me, and I think he had some very heart-touching moments, or I don't know if heart-touching is the right word, but, interesting moments with certain characters, to say the least. I'm probably going to put him in the low end of A tier because of this, and I think he's a little bit better than Lai. And to knock out the last of the Gluttony trio, I'm gonna have to put Rui in S tier. Without going into spoilers, I probably think Rui is top 3 antagonist within all of ReZero, if not the best, if I'm being honest. She is genuinely amazing. She connects with our characters like no others. She has perspectives like no others. She drives so many pivotal moments within future arcs and really is able to give us a portrayal and a perspective on certain things and certain things within the story that no other character really has been able to up until that point. I genuinely think the way she is able to carve dialogue into the reader and really connect with our main character and many other characters, to say the least, is unique. And what happens with all of that is some of the best, if not the best stuff within all of ReZero. So yeah, easily for me, she is going to be S tier. Going forth is going to be Sirius, who I'm going to just go ahead and put in C tier. She's cool. She had a couple of nice moments within Arc 5, but besides that, we really didn't get to see her that much. She got packed up pretty quickly by Priscilla, and her connections with Amelia, whatever that may be, and her connection with Fortuna, when that gets revealed, she'll probably go up. But as of right now, she's kind of just like knockoff Betelgeuse within the sense. She fills that void that his crazy characteristics had, and I'm sure she's going to play an important role within the future. But as of right now, she's just going to have to go in C tier due to the fact that we haven't really seen much of her, if I'm being honest. Now moving on to every TikTok fan's favorite ReZero antagonist, that's going to be Todd. I actually do think Todd is great, despite all the annoying, unfortunate glaze that happens on TikTok and the edits of him as Dokes and so on and so forth. He really is a great character, and he gives a different lens of an antagonist that, no other antagonist can, being just a human, normal guy who suspects Subaru of, being strange and weird. I do think he is a little bit overrated, if I'm just being honest, but I'm still going to put him in the A tier. I think he is great. I think what he portrays is great. I think his dialogue with Subaru in Arc 8 is some of the best dialogue within the entire series, and it's all super interesting, and his name chapter is honestly extremely funny at that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put Todd in A tier. Also, I'm not gonna go through every antagonist within Arc 7. I'm just gonna go through like the biggest ones with Subaru. So yeah, anyways, like that being said, Olbart. I think Olbart is another extremely funny antagonist, and it's weird calling him an antagonist because I suppose he is. And he definitely does do stuff in Arc 7 and Arc 8 that are antagonistical to Subaru. But, I mean, yeah, he is an extremely funny character. His moments within Arc 7 and 8 are good. I'm going to go ahead and probably put him in probably B tier if I had to say. He's not C tier, but he's B tier. He has good moments. He sets forth the plot in a lot of ways within Arc 7, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I mean, he's old Bart. I think the best antagonist, well, I don't know if you can really consider him an antagonist, if I'm being honest. He's more of like an anti-villain, is going to be Chisha Gold from Arc 7 and Arc 8. I think that's the best antagonist to come out of these arcs. And I'm going to have to put him in high A tier, if not S tier. He, you know, drives so many interesting moments, so many character moments. He really parallels so many ideas of Subaru and Al, to say the least, within these arcs, you know, doing so much just to save one person, that being Vincent, and really driving forth the plot. Without getting into spoilers, I think Chisha is one of the best characters within all of ReZero and one of the most underrated characters within all of ReZero. And he may not be an antagonist, but you know, his actions go against the main characters, which within definition is being an antagonist. So yeah, I'm gonna have to put him right around there. Moving on to next is Sphinx, and I'm gonna be honest, guys, I'm not like the biggest fan of Sphinx. You know, it's cool and all, her ability's cool and all, what she does in Arc 8 is cool and all, but I wasn't loving it in comparison to so many other antagonists we got, not only within this arc, but within all of ReZero. And she's really clustered in between, you know, some of the greatest antagonists within the entire series. So it kind of, you know, shed some light, or rather, you know, darkness on her character, being that I feel like what she did and the way she did it was good. Like, it was good for the story, but as a whole, it just didn't move me as much as many other antagonists have within the story. And so with that being said, she's probably just going to go into B tier with me, but take that into context. She is a pretty major antagonist, so B tier for her is not as good. But yeah, although I guess she did set forth the plot for Arc 9 a lot, to say the least. So maybe I should put her in A tier, but no, I'm going to stick with my gun. I'm going B tier on this. I think she's B. Moving on, going with the one, the only, our golden boy of Arc 9, Al. Al is easy S tier. He is a top 3 antagonist within all of ReZero now. I mean, all of Arc 9 as a whole is genuinely amazing, and this is driven off of the back of Al himself. And his, you know, we don't know what his connections are with Subaru yet without getting into spoilers, but whatever is going on there is genuinely super interesting, and Al's abilities and everything that was explained to him is so parallel to our own main character, and his character journey is so similar to that of Natsuki Subaru. He is an easy S tier. Him just being the following star, him having to, you know, live in the back, in the shadow of Natsuki Subaru, and no matter what he does, now being able to catch up to that, and Subaru always getting the best of him, is genuinely amazing. And when Tappei gives us more exposition and dialogue on who Al really is, it's going to be beautiful. Easy S tier for me. Next up is going to be Yae Tenzin, who honestly grew on me so much as a character. It's honestly insane. I think the moments we see with her within Arc 9 are so good. It parallels that of Echidna to a degree. I don't know if you guys have seen the images, but her relationship with Al is really good, and she became a character that I thought I was going to like a lot more, you know, than I did initially. She's honestly probably an A tier for me. Last but not least, I'm going to do Satella / the Witch of Envy. I don't really know if she should be considered an antagonist, but I'm going to throw her on here anyways, just because she is considered such a big, you know, antagonistical figure within ReZero. But if I'm being honest, I really don't think she is. But if we're just going off her character alone, we don't really know enough yet. We don't know much about Satella. We have very little details, even this far into the series. If I had to guess, when she's done, she is going to be above all these guys and be S+. But as of right now, she's probably just going to be in A tier for me, just because we don't have enough. I mean, there's not much more to say besides that. And also, if I were to include Heinkel on this list, he would be an S tier. But I don't think I will, if I'm being honest. Anyways, that about does it for the video. These are my ReZero antagonist rankings, or tier list, I guess. Yeah, I said that I wasn't going to try to concentrate this to high rankings only, but clearly that is a lie for me, as you could see by the amount of characters within the B tier, which is still a pretty high ranking. Yeah, I mean, I just love so many of the antagonists within ReZero. It feels a bit disrespectful to put them any lower than that. What Tappei has crafted with such a wide range of characters is genuinely impressive and is one of my favorite parts about ReZero. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you agree and disagree with. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate specifically on the Sphinx stuff and probably on the Regulus stuff too. But anyways, yeah, peace.